Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity character showcase. And today we're going to be looking at the final of the four champions, Daruk. Now, Daruk is an interesting character to me because at first I assumed he would be like Darunia from Hyrule Warriors 1, and he was a character that didn't really click with me in that game, but in this one I realized that the more and more I progressed playing as this character, I realized that a lot of that was intentionally made so that he would feel more complete as a character by the time things were done. He's a very interesting character overall, and very much like Daruk, his playstyle is really solid, really well-rounded, and I think a big part of his playstyle and helping me understand how to use him properly was to recognize that he isn't the kind of character that is about exposing weak point gauges, setting those up so that you can burn them all in one combo, especially in higher difficulties. On lower difficulties, anyone could just one-shot the weak point gauges with a couple of attacks here and there, but for Daruk, it's all about being very observant of what your opponent is doing, understanding how to punish that accordingly, and defending properly. He has Daruk's protection, which is the best defense in the game, so for the most part, you can be toe-to-toe with the enemy and be just fine, as long as you remember to position yourself properly against certain attacks. But for the most part, he's going to be invulnerable to damage overall. The thing about Daruk I want to point out is his ability to summon magma. This is very, very nice for the purposes of displacing your enemies. You can actually block quite a few attacks, and similarly to Lana from Hyrule Warriors 1, you can press it again to detonate, and it's really nice for clearing out the keeps. But let's just get into the combat element of this. Like I said, you got to be very observant of what your opponent is doing. Like, you can just make use of Daruk's protection to, like, counterattack. And then you can follow it up with a combo 6, which causes the weak point gauge to be exposed, then detonating the magma that it summons as a result of that. The combo 5 is very, very useful for the purposes of disrupting the enemies as well, simply because what it does is that you'll do the somersaults in the air, and while he's in the air, it'll expose the weak point, and then you'll create a magma ramp. This is really, really, really important for the purposes of just making sure that you can break whatever weak point gauges you can at the time. Okay, so the thing is, though, a big part of how I realized that I had to rethink how I did this particular character is understanding that the stasis is not your go-to option. The best go-to option when you're playing as Daruk, because the thing about the stasis, you can't dodge cancel out of it, you want to rely more on the bomb. The bomb comes out really, really quickly, and you can summon 2 sets of magma, which can be exploded twice, which is a very, very fair amount of overall weak point gauge break. Okay, so I want to do a combo 5 on this guy if I can. Again, like you'll see, disrupt, create that ramp. Sometimes, if it's a really, really big enemy, then they'll end up on the ramp, and then if you explode it, then he's going to end up falling, and then he gets cancelled out of that ult animation. That's okay. But again, this is like the main purpose is that you're disrupting them through the use of those. Yeah, like, and you'll notice that this is a recurring thing where you're just doing so much damage just by passively preparing your combos. That, like, Daruk's a really, really heavy hitter. You're gonna have no problem whatsoever racking up damage over time. But like I said, he's not like Impa or Link where it's all about those giant setups. He's about kind of being very observant about what your opponent is doing and then following it up with the most appropriate response. Like, as you can see over there, the bomb weakness is extremely effective because, again, he summons those 2 sets of magma. I think you can disrupt with a combo 5 here. Yep, look at that. And follow it up with 2 hits if you wish. It's great, right? Honestly, in most scenarios, like, going for the bombs would be better than stasis. So that's something to point out as well. But yeah, other than that though, like, Daruk, he's the kind of character where, again, be very observant. I think if you're ever up against an enemy with a bomb weakness prompt, then you'll definitely want to go for that as well. The combo 6, when he summons the meteor showers, that particular attack is really, really nice because he enters the protective state as he's doing it. So you'll actually disrupt, then you can detonate the bombs, do some passive damage from there. you're going to be using that the most against like the really big-bodied enemies as well. So yeah, Daruk, he does not lack for being able to break weak point gauge reliably, but it's very over time in comparison to most characters where it's just instantaneous. He's very similar to Mipha in that regard, where it's about calling up that weak point gauge forcibly and then, again, using the proper option to address that. There's really so much that I could say about Daruk. I tried my best to use this kind of moveset demonstration, but I think for the most part, though, the best way to explain how to use them is by putting them out in the field, so that's what you're going to see right now. Let's check it out. Alright, so we're going to be looking at a Daruk exclusive mission. Before I do, just want to double check. Yep. Playing on very hard difficulty, Rampaging Malice, and we're going to fight quite a few Malice Guardians. Malice Guardians take forever to break weak point gauges for, but that's actually why Daruk would be a great idea for this particular mission, just because his ability to constantly bring out that weak point gauge and wear it down gradually over time is very, very potent. And obviously this is a Daruk exclusive mission, so this would be a good sort of guide walkthrough for people that have not yet finished this. Now, when it comes to Daruk and his weapon, I want to point out that he has this weapon over here. I've kind of gone above and beyond, just put a lot of special attack charge rate. I like special attack charge rate, the fact that you can use your combo 2 and then detonate those to easily build up special is very useful in this scenario. You don't really need to worry about attack speed boosts. Attack speed boosts, if you had a lot of them, might become useful since a lot of his moveset is based around disrupting opponents with his combos 5 and 6. Other than that, though, I'd say that for the most part, anything else that would just increase his damage, anything that will give you more special attack charge rates, I'd say would be more worth your time. Other than that, though, again, don't focus too much about attack speed in this particular scenario because he'll do just fine since we're going to be fighting against Guardians today. And, you know what, let's see what it looks like without the champion garb. It's very revealing, but you know what, let's run with it. Alright, so the first order of business is to capture all of the outposts over here. And as luck would have it, the first enemy on our list is a Malice Guardian. Now before I want to focus on the Malice Guardian, make absolutely sure that you're not going to get tagged by any of his abilities, especially on very hard. He does so much, but if you're playing as Daruk, it's 0 damage no matter what difficulty you're on. Okay, clearing out the room here. He's charging up a laser. I might as well block it. Yep. So again, that's what you do. You expose the weak point gauge that way. You can also detonate the ramp, as you saw there. Gives you a little bit more breakage. And we have a little bit of weak point gauge left. I might as well also just expose that with a bomb, since by the time I'm finished doing this weak point gauge smash, the bomb rune should be back off cooldown. Alright. So again, the Malice Guardians, they have so much defense, so much HP. Oh no, he's gonna attack. Whatever will I do? Let's go for a combo 6, see how much this does. Detonate them immediately if you can. Oh, I couldn't do it in time. That's frustrating, but that's okay. Just block this. Again, you're immune to all damage as long as you block it properly. And then any damage that you do is purely incidental as a result of just perping your combos. Almost. I think if I were to... Okay, I was thinking if I did a combo 6, I could just rain some meteors. I should have been quicker to react to the initial swipe. I would have been able to avoid that damage completely, but it's alright. One thing I forgot to mention at the beginning of the video is that he also has a strong attack. The strong attack, you can charge it, and then you can let that catapult you across really, really quickly and hitting everyone in your way. I don't think it's particularly useful on very hard difficulty, but the more you charge, the more reach it has. Alright, we have no choice but to use the useless stasis move that he has. So here comes the meteors, detonate them, dash forward, do a weak point smash. And you can see we're building up the special so much, but really you can just use it for emergency purposes and be okay. Oh, emergency such as this, for example. We have two guys, we can line them up. That should be enough to kill the Fire Guardian. And we can go ahead and set up another combo this way. Using a combo 5 to interrupt that laser charge like I mentioned earlier. Just get a little bit of extra damage off with those explosions before you commit to the smash. Remember, every bit of damage you can get on these guys counts. So if they jump into the air like that, easily block. Like I said, there isn't like any giant setups that you can do. The best thing I can do is just stay in front of him and charge up, wait for him to do something that you can easily punish. Like that, for example. That was foolish. Okay, so I think that was the second outpost that we had to do. The thing about Daruk is that I've noticed this a lot, where a lot of people, there are some characters in the roster of Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity, where they are pretty obviously very solid characters, very, very strong, because they adhere to a sort of quote-unquote meta, or a typical playstyle, and there's nothing wrong with those kinds of comparisons. But the thing about a character like Daruk is that he doesn't fit under those same qualifications, but that does not make him a bad character necessarily. It just means that you need to look at it a different way when it comes to how you go about playing as these characters. A lot of this game's roster is balanced around different kinds of playstyles. Maybe some are quicker than others, but that doesn't mean that the other ones are inherently worse as a result. Like, Daruk doesn't have amazing wave clears, but it is still a lot of fun to do stuff like this. You're just rolling around, because, again, the thing about Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity is that large KO counts aren't as vital as it was in previous Warriors games, and I think that's something that needs to be taken into consideration when it comes time to do the tier list, if I ever end up doing one. I know some people have already come up with theirs, but I'm going to wait a little bit longer before I start pitching in some of mine, because there's so many characters and there's so many things that we don't fully understand. Even this video that we're watching right now, at the time of recording, for all we know, there's going to be some amazing tech coming out, and who knows, he might end up becoming a top tier just as a result of all that stuff. There's so much that's left up in the air right now, and I think it's important to recognize that our mains, the people that we've chosen to make things an easy win for us, is just because there was a limit to how much we understand about this game. Look how much that breaks. My goodness, look at that combo. Like, you can just keep on going. It's a non-stop pain drain. Non-stop pain train of just combo 6s into giant explosions. It's great. But yeah, like, so that's the thing though, like, if people are wondering if I'll ever do a tier list for this video, I probably will, but the mentality that I'll have will be very different from how it was with Fire Emblem Warriors, or even with Hyrule Warriors. There's a lot that's still left up in the air right now, and I think we need to give this game a little bit more time before we decide. And to be honest, if they ever come up with DLC, I think that would be great. I think that would be an even larger thing for us to go into as well. But yeah, that is the Daruk showcase, you guys. A very solid character, very reliable in terms of just constantly bringing the pain to your enemies. It does require a little bit more concentration than most people would like. Some people would just like a streamlined, turn off your brain for these kinds of setups like Two-Handed Link or Impa. But for a character like Daruk, if you like the excitement of warfare in this game, then he may be a character you may want to ease into a little bit more, because he does have a very unique playstyle in comparison to what we're used to, and there's nothing wrong with that uniqueness. Anyways, guys, thank you very, very much for joining me on today's showcase. I will see you guys when we go to another character. We're going to try to do things for the sake of, like, spoilers. We're going to be looking at a few characters based on when they're recruited in the main story. So by the time we get those done out of the way, then I think we're probably going to look at, like, some optional characters that are, like, found on side quests before we get into the plot spoiler characters. Or who knows, maybe we'll do those first. Either way, though, yeah, we're going to try to ease into that. But we have one more character before we go into spoiler territory, I think. And hope to see you guys when that happens. Until then, see you guys next time.